You're okay.
Okay.
You're okay.
That's when they wanted, she wanted them to move his grandmother over. Yeah, that's what she gonna do. And they're gonna have to pull that gate out. So we're being told the confirmation is heaven. Death will have to stand on the world. Such a sad and tragic thing. A life taken away from sin. And at such a young age, you were only 42. There was mourning the world over, and some still mourn today. But through the sadness and fear, we are able to celebrate. So many years have passed since the hot on the streets. We may have left the building, but the music is stayed. We film, we dance, we sing the song. Your earthly existence may be over, but in our hearts we live on. The world we traveled was rough. Just like you. You know what I mean? With so much gratitude for all you did. Thank you.
My mind is out.
So y'all, 46 years ago, right now, Joe Esposito called the emergency number and the dispatch went out at 2:33, right now, 46 years ago. So in about 8 minutes, that ambulance comes right by here at 2:41. And the guy told me that he was like, man, I'll be right there. And he's not here. Where's he at?
You can see where he took up. Yeah, how much would that cost? Elvis and Priscilla forever. They're flying it over Grayson.
These are the Priscilla fans. This is because they want that she will be buried at meditation garden or something.
Yeah, Tennessee Karate Institute, the karate sensei, that's his stepmother. So he's technically Elvis's cousin by marriage. He married her father, and they were very wealthy. Her father had a private plane that Elvis would use and that kind of stuff. Or her husband, I should say. Patrick's father. So this guy right here has billions, but he tried to take it with him. See that? Yeah. So y'all have seen the famous mausoleum, and they came and did right here, and there it is.
where Elvis was?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's where they buried him from.
This is where he was entombed to begin with. That's right. And I'll tell you how all this came about. Let me get up here and I'll show you. So originally Elvis was entombed here. So the question is, why? Gladys was out there on the grass, right? And she was there since 1958. So what happened is when Elvis passed away, Bob Kendall was the funeral director, and Vernon asked Bob Kendall to find a suitable place for Elvis. So Bob is who chose that, not Vernon. Bob came here, he looked at it, and he said that was the place that he could be safe because they were concerned about someone trying to steal the body. In fact, earlier on the earlier tour, we talked about over at the funeral home that they had police there with machine guns guarding Elvis's body because they didn't know that somebody wouldn't show up to try to take his body. So anyway, you remember the video. He pulled through here. You've got all of the, in fact, I sent Trey pictures of the flowers. He'll show you in a minute, but they went right through that door and they went in that, where that right window is the unit, and there's 8 units in there. Elvis was, if you're standing in there looking in, he's the second one from the floor on the right. Gladys was on the bottom. So Gladys was over there. She was moved over here, and then she was moved to Graceland. She was entombed 3 times. And Elvis and Gladys were in the same kind of caskets. They were made in Nashville. It was called a national copper deposit. It was like a one-piece copper deposit casket. And you know the old stories, all the legends where they say it was an air conditioning unit, and that's why it was so heavy. It was so heavy because it was the most expensive casket you could buy at the time. They were about $12,000, and they were even old in 70s. They were built in the 50s. The one that Gladys was buried in, it would be from the same run that Elvis was buried in 77. They still have, there's like 3 left, and they're $150,000 a piece now. And there's like different ones around the country. I've got a funeral home that I'm planning on going and visiting in Oklahoma that has one, and they said they would let me film it so I could see what it looked like. But that is what both of them were entombed in. But it was actually Bob that chose that spot. Now what happened is Elvis was only here for a few months, so the paperwork never happened, so the family never owned that. When they tried to auction it off one time, the fans went nuts and they pulled it off the auction block. So nobody owns that. It's still owned by this graveyard.
Is really part of family, part of Lisa's life, part of all the good things that happened. Even now when we talk together, we come up with different perspectives and different thoughts. And before I introduce someone who is just so important and pivotal in Lisa's life, I'm going to leave you with something that one of Lisa's friends, who I actually met at her celebration of her life, came up with, put to me, which was just so profound, is that Lisa was to her children like Gladys was to Elvis. She was just so protective and so loving, would do anything for her kids, and gosh darn you, if you did something wrong to her kids, you had to watch out. So I just want you, there's a lot of things to think about, because I think Lisa had been portrayed in many ways throughout the years, but even from the time that she was at Graceland as a child, she was so protective of her dad. Just everything that we do at Graceland, even the things that you see that we're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years, you can be pretty certain that Lisa had a part in it, that she had a thought about it, that she had an opinion on it, because Lisa had opinions on everything. And that if we're doing it, we get questions on, who's going to steer the ship, who's going to be talking about what's right or wrong, what are we going to be too corporate? We've got a great roadmap, and we're going to be doing a lot of great things at Graceland. Lisa came up with a number of the ideas. She was part of it. And Riley has really, and I talked to Riley this morning, and she said to say, hi y'all and everybody. And just like Lisa, Lisa never wanted to be the center of attention. She was so thrilled to come to birthday, and she, if you were here, you saw it. She signed every autograph. She took every photo. she stayed until the last person was satisfied, except the guy who wanted like 30 signatures. But everyone else, she stayed because it was about the fans. It was about her dad. So she never wanted to be on stage. Riley, even though she's an amazing actress, and congratulations on her Emmy nomination for Daisy Jones and the Six, which is just phenomenal. She's very smart, very aware, very on top of things, has her own opinions. And we have I've had a lot of interesting conversations with her over the years, just as I have her mom. So Graceland's in good hands, Elvis is in good hands. And tonight we're just gonna talk about, life and really celebrate her life with some people who are just really integral and super close to her. So I just, the first thing I want to do whenever I come up with who is important to Elvis, who is the person who never wanted anything from Elvis, who never exploited his relationship with Elvis for his own benefit, I always come back to the same person, and that's Jerry Schilling. And when I was choosing a list of who to speak at her celebration, there were some people that were just no-brainers, and I just want to remind everybody, this is Jerry speaking at Lisa's celebration. The universe of everything Elvis. So why don't we talk about, the things that we remember about her at Graceland?
Well, obviously the first thing I remember is driving her home from the hospital. And Lisa was, Lisa was a very strong individual, as you know, even as a little girl, except when Elvis was around. They had a real chemistry. When I think of Lisa, one of the thoughts that come to my mind is we came off of a tour, and she was like 3 years old or less, and it was like her mother brought her to the airport, and we were going down, and I saw this little kid running, but crying. She was to see her dad, and he picked her up, and I went, oh my God, now I know what a father-daughter relationship is. But I'm so honored to be here. Thank you, Joel. It's a double celebration and a double sadness because we did lose Memphis this year, but Graceland, you guys, and the spirit and all the body of work of Elvis is going to keep this alive for a long, long time. And I'm proud to be here and see all the love, that comes here with the fans. And I understand when I was working for Elvis, we had to get to an airport. We had to catch a plane before he had his own plane or whatever. And he would stop. He would sign autographs. And I said, we got to go, And then after we lost him, and I got to know fans, and I understand, and I feel the same way of that love. And that's the most important thing, So I'm proud to be here. The most time at Graceland, I had lots of great times with Lisa, but I just wanted to say one thing because of what's going on in Hawaii. And I spent so many years with her in her home in Hawaii, and I had special times. She was a very, as Joel said, she was a very protective mother, and that what Billy said was, I never thought of, but yeah, she was protective. But I became real close with Ben Storm, and Lisa never got over that. It's just been such a roller coaster, so many highs, you know, with the movie. And, you know, Austin, you know, he gave Lisa so much support because, Joel, you know, she was very fragile after Ben. And so the movie really helped, and the cast the Bass put together.
And even with the movie, because, you know, you get some people who they take a check and they'll support anything. Lisa was initially very, very concerned about the movie. I had to really talk and walk her through a lot of it. We were very cautious and careful about what we would approve and wouldn't. Baz was a doll and a dear to work with because we had so many concerns and changes. But she was never the pushover. But, you know, taking a step back from something that you said, you know, I can't tell you how many people today told me that they feel that Graceland's like family. That when you're here today and you're walking today and you talk to people, that it really does feel like a family. And from the beginning of her life to 3 days before the end of her life, what made her feel good, what made her feel safe was Graceland. That Monday before she passed away, the Sunday, you know, she was in the best mood that I had seen her since Ben had passed away. She sent me text about how much she felt loved and how she felt appreciated, and how, you know, she never wanted to do anything after Ben passed away. But I really pushed her to come to Graceland for, you know, for birthday, and then we flew to LA and we were at a party with Austin. I think you were there, right?
Yeah, that's
on Formosa in
Formosa Cafe.
There you go. And, you know, she had such a great time, and I think it was actually you who told me, because I didn't even realize that I had become the hovering parent to Lisa. But even at the party, I was hovering 10 feet behind her to make sure that she was okay, which she was. You know, Riley was there, and Austin was there, and Baz was there, and obviously Jerry was there. But from the beginning to the end, with all of the issues that she had in her life, it was Graceland that really gave her strength and happiness. And we'll talk about many of those things that are happening in the hour. And, you know, Jerry's going to talk about the Presleys' love of Hawaii.
Yes.
And we will talk about later in this program, because hopefully everyone knows that every dollar that we generate from this today is going to charity. It's going to go to both Memphis area charities as well as the Red Cross of Maui. The amount that I was given that we've raised today is $34,450. But in Lisa's name, I'm going to match that. So, you all coming here, we raised almost $70,000. Golf carts, you know, so many people. I can't tell you that, you know, when Axl Rose, who's the singer of Guns N' Roses, came and performed. And by the way, every single person who we asked to performed. And these were people who were on tour. These were some of the biggest music artists in the history of music. Combined, they had sold over 200 million records. And Lisa had touched each one of these people in such a different way, but so meaningful, that it wasn't a question, it wasn't where they were in the world, it's what they could and couldn't do, but they needed to be here for her. Because of, you know, they probably met her because she was Elvis's daughter, but they loved her, and I loved her, and Jerry loved her because she was Lisa Marie Presley.
And Joel, I don't want everybody to think that I only have one coat and shirt, but
That's what I thought.
I wore this especially tonight because at the Formosa Father's Birthday is when Lisa asked me, would you walk me down the red carpet for the Golden Globes, which was 2 nights later. And I said, God, yes, I'd be honored. And as everybody saw that went viral around the world, the last time anybody saw Lisa, she was hanging on to this coat. And so I wanted to wear it tonight.
And I do have to say that in Lisa's entire life, I think the only person that she felt was truly there for her from her first remembrance to her last day was Jerry. There were people that came in and out of her life. There were very few people in Elvis's life that Lisa ever connected with, that Lisa respected. And where that came from was Elvis. As a young child, she could see how Elvis treated people and who Elvis respected and who he didn't. And Lisa's respect for Jerry was almost like hardwired in because it came from Elvis, from her first memory on. And Lisa was a tough person, so not only is that hard to do if you do everything right, it's Jerry's strength of character, and from the first day to today, really caring about what Elvis would have wanted, and I think that's so important. So I'm reading this because I'm not Tom, and Tom could do a much better job, but here I am. One of the greatest.
And she was an Oscar and Grammy nominee for I Have Nothing, that was in The Bodyguard. Amazing Whitney Houston, and her mother used to sing with Elvis with the Sweet Inspirations. She has the greatest sense of humor and was always a breath of fresh air. Loved by everyone, especially Lisa, my dear friend, Linda Thompson.
Joel, you were saying that Lisa was so happy at Graceland, and I think that was probably due to her connection to her daddy. She connoted Graceland with her daddy. So when she was there, I think she felt his presence, as we all do. I know all of us, when we go to Graceland, feel Elvis's energy and his essence still there. He loved his home.
And when Lisa talked about Graceland, and obviously the older she got, the more she remembered, when she talked about holidays at Graceland, it was always with Linda, discussing it with Linda, and often Linda in costume. So that's something that Linda can share with you that I won't, but I saw your reaction right there. So maybe Linda will talk to you about it.
Well, Lisa was only 4.5 when I first met her, and cognizant memory doesn't really kick in until you're about 4.5, 5 years old. The things, if you look back on your life, you don't remember much until then. So I think that all of her memories of Christmas when she was a little girl with her daddy definitely included me. So I played Santa Claus to her. I played the Easter Bunny for her. And I loved her so dearly. She was the sweetest little girl. I know that I've seen interviews since where she says she was a little hellion and she was, a terror at Graceland. I never experienced that. For me, she was like a little blonde cherub, a little angel. She was always very loving. Elvis loved her immeasurably and showed that love. He demonstrated that love to her just very generously. We called her Little Goober Nickel. We had all these little pet names for her. And, he was very attentive and very tuned into her. And you were talking about how much Riley looks like Lisa on certain angles and how much Lisa looked like her daddy. I'll tell you a funny story. She was at my birthday party one year, and she said, "Linda, come to the restroom with me, as women do." I said, "Okay." So I'm in the restroom with her, and we're talking, and we're in close proximity to each other. And I'm looking at her eyes, and I said, "Okay, Lisa, you're either going to have to kiss me on the lips, or we got to get out of here. You look so much like your daddy right now." It was like looking into Elvis's eyes when I looked into her eyes. So she went, "Ew." And we laughed and went back to my birthday party. But, I'm so grateful that I got to share so many incredible times with her. And more importantly, so much love. It occurs to me that the only thing we really take with us when we go is love, and the only thing we leave of real, true value is love when we go. So, and she's left that here. All of you are here because you loved her daddy. We're here because we love her and love her daddy. So it's kind of comforting to know that the love still lives on. You know, the body may be gone, but the love is forever.
Alright, so he was touring with Spy Guy and I yesterday, and now he's doing the apartment tour. So that's pretty cool. There's Elvis out front once upon a time.
I said, you can go in that room and just get what you want, take it back to your kids if you want to. So he brought us back a little teddy bear and like a Catholic candle with a Virgin Mary or something on it, and a little Lord's Supper, kind of a cube that was clear, and the bottom part of it was red, and then it had a relief of the Lord's Supper inside of it.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Do you know which room he stayed in Grace Home?
I don't. I wish I did, or I wish I remembered.
We know there was a bedroom up to the left front of the house, and I don't know when it got changed to a closet, but there was a bedroom up there. Louise said her and Jean stayed up there.
Could have been that room.
And there was also a bedroom off of the kitchen.
And for the longest time, Janice, you had that, the motorcycle hat.
Yes.
That's in the photos. I'm going to show the photo right now of Janice's dad, Eddie, and Elvis in Dallas, Texas. I found the restaurant, but he's wearing the hat in that photo, but you had that hat.
Yes, sure did. They showed that yesterday at the Conversations.
Yeah. How did that go? Yeah, Janice was at Conversations at Graceland yesterday.
I think a lot of people were there.
Oh, it went real well.
Did y'all enjoy it, Janice?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Absolutely.
So Graceland has to invite her back.
Sure.
She was a hit.
That would be great. I'd love it.
Well, your dad, I mean, he helped make Elvis famous.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
he did.
Yeah, and his
And he never forgot it.
way. Yeah.
Elvis never forgot it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and they were asking me, that why they thought Elvis, latched on to my dad. And I didn't say this, but before Elvis left for Germany, he was real nervous about his career, and he asked my dad if he would be his manager at one point. And nothing ever came of it, obviously, but I just thought that was interesting. So that's where I was coming from when I said, my dad was more mature and he was a businessman and he was older and all that kind of
If
stuff.
your dad had said yes, then Elvis might have dumped Colonel Parker.
Yeah.
What you did.
Who knows? It's crazy.
That's cool.
So imagine him coming from the left and just coming straight across here, and we're back on Cherry. So here is what we were talking about the amazing houses that you're going to see. And we believe that Elvis was here dreaming about a larger home like Graceland. And she's just running around.
I'm sure
Charlie Rich lived through down here, did he? Billy?
I don't know.
On West Cherry or somewhere through here.
Yeah, it's a good possibility. Look at the homes.
Yeah, he did.
So he was dreaming of a house here, and I would love to know which house. We'll have to figure that out. But look at these houses. But you could see where he would rode straight through the park and then come here and be looking at houses. But he knew because of his experience at Audubon, he couldn't buy a house in the neighborhood. And June Wanico tells a story that when they were driving from Biloxi to New Orleans, that with Gladys and Vernon, that she was talking about all of the plantation houses, how much she loved those houses and how they would like to have them. And Trey recently found an article where Elvis said that if he bought a farm, that he would buy a cotton farm. They were looking for a cotton farm because Vernon was going to be a cotton farmer, and that he would never buy a house, a farm that was not a working farm. And just months later, he bought Graceland.
Wow.
Charlie Rich lived right in here, and they tore the house down.
Oh, the house is gone?
It's gone.
They should be ashamed.
But he lived here, and I know that because my wife and I were friends with his son, and we would come here and visit him.
So imagine him driving through and looking at those houses and riding his motorcycle, probably coming down here and making the circle around. And the lions that you see at Graceland today came from the front of that house right there to your right. So he would have ridden his motorcycle through here and saw them. Now what we found out was, I started researching trying to figure out.
Yes.
Those came from that house right there.
Elvis saw them.
They sat in front of that house. Elvis saw them.
Oh, they're the same one?
Yes.
Yes.
They were at that house.
So he bought them from the people?
From that house right there. And so what I figured out was, I was trying to understand it because when you see the receipt, it says that he took them from 160 Cherry, which is that house, and they delivered them to Graceland. But what I figured out was the people that live at this house own the marble company. So they imported them from Italy for themselves, and then for this house, and then Elvis bought them from this house. Wow. But when he came through here riding his motorcycle, that's how he saw them.
Right there. Once upon a time.
His hand like this, and he comes out. I'm there with Charlie. So I said, "Hey, babe, how you doing?" Hey, and he's got his hand behind him like this, you know. So finally he says something. He says, "Here, Johnny, I got something for you." Well, I didn't want to take nothing from the guy, you know. Like, I didn't even want to take a pop from him, because everybody always wanted something from him. So he goes, "Here," and I goes like this. He says, "Here." I goes like that. He says, "Take the damn thing." So he gave me the watch.
This watch right here.
That's the watch right here that's engraved. And I had Elizabeth, when we got back in Germany, where he lived, I had her engrave it. And that's it. And then I got the lighter up there, too. It's engraved on the back.
I'm going to zoom in on this.
Elizabeth said, "How do you want it done, Johnny?" I said, "To Johnny from Elvis."
Of course.
And she didn't remember, but I did, because she's the only one who could do it. So that's the watch, and that's 60 years ago. And he bought it on the ship, and it cost $72.50.
Wait a second, I need to zoom in on this.
$72.50 was a lot of money back then.
Oh,
that was more than a month's pay.
Oh, well, no, I was making 78, so it was.
No, so it was a month's pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get it to focus on your camera. All right, let me see here. There we go.
Anyway, Elizabeth had that engraved for me. She was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm. So, guys, do you remember my friend Johnny Lang, Elvis Presley's friend, who he called Johnny Leftovers? Well, Johnny, if you enjoyed my episodes with Johnny, make sure to go and watch them. But Johnny now has written a book called My Army Days with Elvis. Friendship, Football, and Follies by Johnny Lang. Johnny Leftovers. Send him an email at myarmydayswithelvis@gmail.com if you would like to purchase a copy, and Johnny will autograph it for you. Let him know Globetrotting with Trey sent you. So My Army Days with Elvis, Friendship, Football, and Follies. Johnny Lang, Johnny Leftovers. Make sure you pick up that book. You're going to enjoy these stories. Believe me, they're one of a kind. So, Joe, have a good time.
Had a great time. Yeah.
Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very fun.
Billy for president.
Thank y'all for coming, and and y'all stay in touch with us. You know, interact with us, and Manly Stranger interacts with us a lot. He's a great guy.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody.
And